Everyone, thanks for tuning into today's video. Going to look at the weather for the weekend and going out into next week today, sort of 8 to 10 day period. We've got some quite interesting signals emerging within the moles. I don't think it's going to get particularly unsettled, although it will get more unsettled than it has been probably, particularly for the north. But I think we are going to notice the air masses beginning to change. And of course we're getting towards the time of year now where air masses are becoming very important as we begin to slide away from the summer in towards the autumn. And we tend to, at this time of year, get lots of changes in the air masses from day to day. So you can get one day that's very warm, another day it's really quite cool, another day that's a little bit warmer again, then go even cooler again, then very warm, and so on. And it can go on like this for some time actually, through September and even into October, before eventually, of course, eventually autumn will take over and we'll go into much cooler sort of temperatures once we get into October and through November. But it can take a while to get there, and you can get lots of interesting sort of changes in the air masses, or very interesting for those of us that follow the weather and look at these charts. We find them very interesting to see the changes day to day. People that aren't interested in the weather probably don't find it that interesting, to be honest, but it's something that fascinates me the way. But the seasons change really, and we move from summer to autumn, and then again the same happens from autumn to winter, of course, and so on through the seasons. So I think we are getting to the point where we're beginning to look at cooler air beginning to come down from the north. Have a look at that in a moment. Just want to talk about the advertising. There's green keyword ads on our pages at gasworthviz.com. Rolling cursor over green keywords will mean that you see the ad, but if you click through the word and the ad, you'll go to the advertised website, and when you do that, you support gasworthviz.com. Thanks very much for doing that. So these are the thickness temperatures in the atmosphere today. It's a little bit difficult to talk about thickness, but what you really need to know with these charts is that the lines are indicating different air masses. So this pale sort of lemon coloured line is the 564 line, and that really is summer air. That's hot air. When you're within that line, you're within proper sort of hot temperatures. Now this green line up here is the 546 thickness line. That is autumn. When you're within that line, it's going to be autumnal. It's going to be cool. It won't be cold, but it will be cool. Temperatures are just going to be into the mid-teens at best, and that is basically, essentially, autumn waiting to come down across the country. The thickness line at the moment is strung out to the north of British Isles, generally to the north of Scandinavia as well, but that's on its way, and it will eventually be within the British Isles, and when it is, we'll know that autumn is there. And then finally, this blue coloured line is the 528 line, and that's winter. Yeah, winter is waiting in the wings. It's just over Greenland and up over the Arctic at the moment. This blue 528 area will expand over the next few weeks and months, and eventually as we get to winter, when we see that 528 line coming within the British Isles, we'll know that winter is here, and that's the minimum really that's required for snow. A lot of other factors are important with snow, but the 528 line is one of the things that we look at anyway as the minimum requirement to get rain turned to snow. So interestingly, that is waiting over Greenland. It'll be with us in 2 or 3 months. But it's the 546 line that we're interested in at the moment, this green line, because as I say, when this comes down into the British Isles, we'll know that autumn is looming. So have a look at the chart for Friday the 30th of August, and we're still more or less in the position that we're in at the moment, with warm air coming in off the Atlantic. Not hot, but warm, with the Azores high sitting to the south. Low pressure is up around Iceland. This low pressure is quite important over the weekend because it could give us our first sort of pulse of cooler air. Have a look at the upper air temperatures though for Friday. Shows that we're actually really quite warm. We've got 10 Celsius isotherm across the British Isles there. The cool air with that low pressure is away to the north and the west. And there's the thickness lines again, showing that the 546 line is to the north and west of the British Isles. The 564 line actually getting very close to southern England. As I say, when you're within that 564 line, it is really quite hot indeed. So even by Friday, we're still talking about summery type conditions. And temperatures for Friday very warm, up to 23, 24 degrees there, but much of England and Wales. Cooler away to Scotland, and that is heading our way potentially as we go into the weekend, because what the GFS does is it really develops this area of low pressure into a major storm as we go into Saturday. 985 millibars to the north of Scotland, major storm system with weather fronts pushing south. I think those fronts will be quite weak. I don't think there's going to be much rain on them, but that's enough to really change the air mass. So if you have a look at the upper air temperatures, where we've lost the 10 Celsius isotherm, that's gone down to France, and we're actually within the 5 Celsius isotherm there across the British Isles. That's much, much cooler air being forced southwards by that area of low pressure. And look at this, on the thickness charts we see that the green line, which I said is the is autumn essentially, the 546 line has moved southwards into Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England. It's not further south, but even further south it will be much, much cooler with that northwesterly wind. Look at the temperatures. With temperature difference from Friday to Saturday, we've lost something like 6, 7 or 8 degrees across many parts of the country. Forecast with GFS forecast temperatures between around 9 and 21. Now I think that's a bit on the pessimistic side, but Scotland, I don't think you're going to be struggling to get into double figures. I would suggest somewhere between around temperatures somewhere between around 13 and say 22. 22 is 72, but for many of us we're actually just into the teens by Saturday, and with that northwesterly wind it would feel a lot cooler. Now as we go out beyond that, what we see is that for Sunday, and this is the 1st of September of course, we've got the low pressure away to the north and the northeast of Scotland, so we're still putting down that much, much cooler northwesterly wind across the country. You really will notice that. But then as we go into the start of next week, the wind backs more westerly again. We lose that low pressure away to the east. The high pressure just sitting down to the southwest turns the winds back to the west, so temperatures will pick up a little bit as we go back into the start of next week. And then we sort of go into a north-south split with high pressure close to the south, low pressure goes to the north, so always more unsettled for Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, mainly dry still further south, and temperatures probably around where they should be. And as we go into the middle of next week, we build this ridge up actually across many parts of the country, but notice this next area of low pressure becoming a major storm again around Iceland. And as we move through from Wednesday the 4th of September into Friday the 6th of September, that low pressure has gone to the north of Scotland, not as a major storm feature, but it's quite a deep area of low pressure at 990 millibars, and we're back into that cool northwesterly flow again. Actually there's weather fronts here producing quite a lot of heavy rain for England and Wales, but it's just the idea that we're turning more changeable on the basis of this morning's models for next week going into the start of September, and we're also starting to bring cooler air masses into the mix with these areas of low pressure. Not consistently cool, sometimes winds back westerly and bring warmer air back in off the Atlantic, but certainly changing the air masses day to day, which is something that typifies the start of autumn. Now what does the ECMWF say about that major storm system? It doesn't develop it as much on Saturday. There it is around Iceland. It's not quite the intense feature that the GFS is developing. Nevertheless, it's enough to the northeast of Scotland to bring cooler air down across the country through next weekend, or through the weekend. So I think we will see a drop off in temperatures at the weekend, going down towards below 20s in the south and the mid-teens really from the Midlands, from the high teens I should say, from the Midlands northwards, and the mid-teens for Scotland. As going to the start of next week, we've got the high pressure to the south, the low pressure is to the north of Scotland. So bringing in a westerly flow here, it's mainly dry in the south, it's more unsettled to the north. Temperatures pick up a little bit for the start of next week again, but it doesn't get particularly warm. Don't want to get you running away with the idea it's going to get hot at the start of next week. It isn't. It's just because the temperatures are going to pick back up again from the drop off at the weekend. And as we go through to the middle of next week, well, we are developing that low pressure again around Iceland, and we're pushing cooler air southwards again through the latter stages of next week. So by the time we get through to Friday the 6th of September, actually we're bringing down a very cool northerly wind there on the ECMWF. We're taking an active front down across the country. Cold front would be bringing quite a bit of rain even into the south of the country. And again, look at the difference in the upper air temperatures. We've gone into the 5 Celsius isotherm there. That's cool air moving southwards, with temperatures struggling to get up to the 20s, certainly into the teens, I think, for many of us. Potentially just into the low to mid-teens under that area of heavy rain, and it would feel autumnal with that air mass. The GEM, finally, the Canadian mole, again, we don't develop that low pressure to the north of Scotland as much as the GFS, so I think the idea is that the GFS is probably overcooking that low pressure a bit, and it's not going to be as deep or as intense as the GFS wants it, but nevertheless it's enough to bring cooler air through over the weekend, but probably not as cool as the GFS wants to turn in. And into the start of next week, we're sort of into a north-south split again, really, same as what we saw on the ECMWF, with the high pressure keeping the south main settled, low pressure away to the north of Scotland. Temperatures probably near normal. And as we get through to the latter part of next week, again, it's the same idea as the ECMWF, not to the same extent, but the same idea of this low pressure over to the north of Scotland, pulling down this cooler, fresher north to northwesterly wind, and generally that's the way I think we're looking at weather developing through the first week of September on this morning's evidence, that we're going to start to introduce cooler air masses in from the north. The first signs of this will be over the weekend, when we will pull somewhat cooler air down, and then the temperatures will lift up as we go into the start of next week, and then the last stage of next week could see cooler air masses coming back again from the northwest. But it's very changeable. The idea is that we're changing the air masses day by day. Quite interesting sort of developments occurring. We're certainly moving on now into the first stages of autumn, so very interesting developments. That's it for now. I'll be doing 5-day forecast tomorrow, so come back from that. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.